But the first thing is we've got to connect back to us. Because when we disconnected, then it's very hard to harness any kind of intuition, because we literally are not connected back to our vibration and our higher self. So again, it's about that connection, which you can just do. Focus on the heart center, breathe in and out, connect back. And then let your truth be your truth. I can't tell you your truth. I cannot tell you where your intuition is going to come from. Our truth is our truth.
Hello and welcome to the Real Success Show. I'm your host, Candice Mama. If you've ever asked yourself how to reach a state of consistent happiness, then today's speaker, J Alton, is just for you. She's an incredible brand strategist who also works with global companies across the world, but she has unlocked the key to a fulfilling and happy life. But before we jump into Lisa, be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you like this episode. And now, without further ado, here's Lisa. J Alton, thank you so much for being on the Real Success Show.
Hey, Candy, good to see you.
Always good to see you. Lisa, you are a woman with so many talents who does so much in the world. So I'm so curious as to how you define yourself.
I think that is quite a tricky one, because I generally don't sit in a one-dimensional box at all, actually. So I would probably say pretty multi-dimensional. And, often what I say to my clients and people I'm coaching and training is we don't always need to be one thing, right? We're actually not one identity. I'm a mom, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a well-being coach, I'm a yogi. Some days I'm happy, some days I'm not so happy. And I think that when we start to move past this assumption that we are one identity, we can play in multidimensional worlds. But yes, sometimes it does become a bit tricky in terms of like, who are you? What do you do? Well, actually, I do quite a few different things, but I do things that I value, that give me energy, that I'm passionate about. And so I'm quite passionate about getting people into that space. You know, your full potential really often lies in not being defined in one thing, in embracing the multi-dimensions that we're here to bring, to the world.
Oh, I love that answer. And I'm so curious to know, have you always thought in that way? Or did you hit a point where you're like, I'm actually very multidimensional. I don't have to be one thing.
I think when I was younger, I certainly was more sort of set in being a businesswoman and being a strategist and working with the world's biggest brands. That's all awesome. But yeah, I think a lot of wisdom came from, I go to India a lot. I've got my family, I call my family the amazing monks that sit in India. And I would say through one of the processes, I think I got that wisdom. I remember us doing a process around identity. And as I was working through that process, I was kind of like, why am I stuck? It was actually around perfectionism. It was like, why am I feeling this need for perfectionism? And it came down to being stuck in identity, thinking that I am one thing. And when I realized that, I was like, I'm not one thing, I'm all different things. Because often what happens is we get stuck in one identity and then we start to feel guilty when we're not in that identity, right? So it might be like I'm spiritual and I should like always be on the right track, but then some nights you go out and you're wild, right? And then you get guilty because you're wild, because we're stuck in one identity. So I'm very grateful to my friends. I would say maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I've always been someone that has done a lot of things. People would always say to me, whoa, Lise, like 1 minute you're doing astronomy and then you're doing writing and then you're doing, and that's just because I just love feeding my brain. Like often people say, Lise, what do you do with your spare time? And I'm quite mindful about doing stuff that like fulfill me, that bring me more energy. So a lot of that is just, getting interested in other things. So I guess I've always been there, but I think that was a pinnacle moment in realizing, actually, I'm not just a mom or I'm not just a businesswoman. I can be multiple things, and embracing that. And when you embrace it, all of the negative emotions go away, because you can just embrace that you're just in that identity for that day,
I love it. And I love the concept around identity, because I don't think a lot of us look at it that way. I think when you're a perfectionist, you're like, I'm just a perfectionist. I just have to get things right. And the way you're explaining it is so beautiful. I want to know that journey though, because you said it happened 7 years ago, but I'm sure that you didn't go, okay, now I'm all these things and now I'm happy. So I want to know, what was the process like for you?
Ken's, I think I was quite lucky in that my second mom, my best friend's mom, I mean, I met my best friend who is like my soulmate. We totally like, totally on the same wavelength. I met when I was 7, and she was a coach. She was a psychologist. So inherently, I think she gave us all those subconscious tools. So if I look at the both of us, we kind of are quite wired to like overcome things quite quickly. I would say a lot of my experience in this world has been wired towards often just seeing the light side and stuff. And I feel like that is just actually my wiring, to be honest. Like generally, like if I'm nervous, I'll just like burst out in laughter and people will be like, what is going on with her? So I think we all wire differently. Some people go into pain, other people go more into pleasure. I'm certainly wired more for pleasure. I'm not so much about the pain, although having done a lot of personal development, it's like now when you start that journey, you realize it's like 5 minutes or half an hour or maybe one day or maybe a week of pain for like a lifetime of freedom. So when I started that journey, it was like, oh, don't go near the pain. I don't want to go near the stuff. And now I'm like, bring it on. Like, it's just like peeling the onion. So I would say I'm lucky enough that I had a lot of those amazing tools growing up. And I've just always been into like personal development, into neuroscience and quantum physics and meditation and mindfulness and spirituality since a very young age. We were kind of like learning to meditate from like 8 or 9 already. And I don't think the journey ever stops or starts and ends. I think it's a constant peeling away, you just keep on peeling away the layers of the onion, and it's so cool when you just let that shit go and you just like continue to grow and expand. I guess if we think about it, like the universe is ever expanding. It never stops expanding, right? And if we are about consciousness, do we ever stop expanding? Probably not. So maybe in our personal growth and development, there's always expansion. It's infinite. It's not a stop and a start and an end. I think this journey just continues. It's an infinite expansion.
Oh, the analogy you said there was so beautiful about the universe being ever expanding and therefore we being ever expanding on our journey. And you touched on something else that I really want to talk about, because I think over the past 2 or 3 years, there has been collective pain. There has been a collective experience. And you spoke about, firstly being averse to pain and then leaning into pain. A lot of people are so afraid, Lisa, of leaning into the pain because they're scared. Lisa, if I lean in, I might never get out. So do you have any tips and tricks to help people to embrace the pain? Because it sounds like you do it so well.
Well, Kenz, I think you've just said that is embrace the pain. I mean, I went on a Find Your Voice retreat a couple of months ago, thinking that it was going to be a fun and playful experience. And I was like, find my voice. Like, I'd be interested to just see like what my authentic voice is. And I mean, that was a really deep experience of literally finding what your soul resonance is. And as I went through that process, the coach was saying, what often happens is when you've had a lot of pain, you're not in your own voice. You actually go to a high-pitched voice because it's too painful to be there. So I came out of that experience like, whoa, this was not fun at all. Like, you disguised this as fun and games. This was not fun. And I messaged a friend because I was like, okay, now it's the time to really embrace this. Like, how do you push this away? Do you rethink this? I mean, I am a strong believer in, well, talking from experience. So generally I don't talk from belief, I talk from experience. And a lot of the time I do know the power in using your mind and your emotions to create new realities versus just staying in the same old reality, right? So I think for a lot of people that are in the old reality of pain, there certainly are tools and techniques where we can harness new emotions and new thoughts to create a new positive reality. So that's the one thing. I mean, we do know that literally one new thought creates one new pathway in your brain, which for me is mind-boggling. The fact that I can feel a new thing, the fact that I can feel pain every day and start to move into feeling a feeling of happiness and create that new thought literally creates a new pathway, which means it can create a whole new circuitry, which blows my mind. So there is that space. And I would say for people that are stuck in the pain cycle, then we've got to maybe try the other way. Then we've got to maybe try a new reality to start to bring ourselves into a new reality. But for those that are stuck in the positivity cycle and struggling with the pain, what I did with that one is I actually just acknowledged it. So it's almost like, you know, we know that emotions are energy in motion. It's energy. And when you can actually give that thing and acknowledge it, like a small child that's going, excuse me, I'm over here. And you say, hey, I see you. It actually dissipates. And that's my experience that I had, which was amazing. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to just go, you know what, I'm just going to like acknowledge this thing. And literally a couple of days later, it dissipated. It was like it needed to be seen. It needed to come up and that energy moved. So that, I would say that that's been my personal experience of how to deal with it, is just feel it, acknowledge it, and then let it move, because emotions are energy in motion. They won't always be the same thing there. Motion, energy moves. It can't be destroyed. So it will transform. We've just got to acknowledge it and let it move.
Oh, as you were speaking, the poem that came to mind is by Rumi. I don't know if you've read it, and it's called The Unexpected Guest. And basically, he breaks down in this beautiful poetic way about how our emotions are these unexpected guests. And as you would treat a guest, you need to bring the guest in, speak to the guest, acknowledge the guest, but don't let the guest overstay their welcome. And so as you were speaking, I was just thinking about that poem, which is so beautiful. And I love that you said acknowledge it, because I think so much of society today is built to allow us to escape from our own emotions, right? We have our cell phones like within, I think it was 10 meters of us at any given moment. And we can go onto social media, we can Google, we can watch all kinds of things, so we don't have to deal with the psychological programming. And I want to know, because a lot of people are, you know, coming out now, I'd like to say, of this past 2 years, and I'm not going to say the word because we don't want to get banned on YouTube. But they're coming out of this experience, and a lot of them are having to redefine what that identity is, coming back to the beginning of the conversation. And they lost. They like, Lisa, I've lost my business. I've lost some of my health. I've lost my financial earning capacity. I've lost all these things. How do I start embracing these new identities in a space I've never lived in before?
So often our identities are connected to the things we do. And we are not the things we do, right? We are not the things we do. I have a massive business. I always say to my business partners, I am not my business. That is a monster. It will always be hungry. It's not my business. I'm the facilitator of it. So I think the first thing is to maybe be mindful and just acknowledge I'm not the things I do. Those things are just part of my life when I choose to do them, but I'm not the things I do. And then again, going back to identity. So a lot of what I'm coaching people on, because sometimes like finding your purpose, it can feel quite daunting, right? And there's also a lot of conversation around, do I even need to have a purpose? Don't I need to have a purpose? My personal belief is, like our unique fingerprints on our hands, we are all unique. We all have a unique vibration. We all have unique gifts to give to the world. And so I use with a lot of humans the same process I use with a lot of businesses and brands. And that's just really 3 simple steps. The first one is looking at, what do I love? What's the thing that gives me energy? Because generally, you know, the things that give us energy are the things we value. And those are often our gifts that we can give to the world. So that's the first big question. The second big question is, how can I take what I love and make either money or impact with that. So for example, I'm passionate about strategy, I'm passionate about well-being. Could I create a meditation app with that? And then the third thing is, and I think this is sometimes where we miss it, is like we can have a lot of unbelievably talented people, but we've still got to be relevant in the world we live in. And that's just about, what does the world need right now? So guys, if we look, there are so many problems that need solving. If we just open our eyes and we start to scroll on our feeds, it's like there's a lot of tensions we can solve. So it's really about, what do I love? How do I take that thing that I love to solve a real tension, and then choose to then come up with an idea around how I can make money and impact around it. And so, Candice, I think going back to your thing, when we say coming out of these 2 years, I think what's been beautiful about it is people going, but hold on, I'm doing the stuff I don't love. I actually don't enjoy this. I have seen massive global creative directors leaving to start their own kimchi business, you know, and people just doing stuff that's in their passion. So I think it's about us now realigning it back to this top core, right? And again, going, actually, I'm not that identity because it's not me. And just spending that time, being mindful around spending our time at least once a week and kind of just like reflecting, actually, does this give me energy or doesn't it? If it doesn't give me energy, it's probably not the right thing that I should be doing and on my path, you know?
Oh, I love that. And it's so doable. Everything you're saying is actually very actionable. And you spoke about reflection at the end there, and taking a day or at least some time at the end of every week to reflect. Are there any practices that you do that help you to get into that reflective energy or that reflective zone?
I reflect daily. So, I mean, I would say I am someone that generally does not like routine. I like to start my days differently every day. I like to be in new places every day, simply because I feel if we're doing the same thing and we're going to the same places every day, where do we allow this magic in, right? It's really hard. If you're waking up the same way and you're going to the same place, it's really difficult. So I tend to, and I guess that's part of probably the resetting, is just do new things all the time. Say yes more often than no. And then every night I meditate and recalibrate. And like I always say to everyone I'm coaching, it's kind of like, we can't meditate once every 2 months and expect that we're going to be like in this reset zone. It's kind of like training a bicep. We can't go to the gym once and expect that muscle to just like, it's a daily practice. But the great thing is when you get into that daily practice, and someone was saying this to me yesterday, they went off their meditation for a while and now they're back on. And it's like 2 completely different states of mind. Their reality is a completely different reality. So for me, it's just meditation. And I think often what scares people with meditation is we feel like we might need to be like Zen monks, 2 hours in a mountain, no, actually, we can do things as simple as 1 minute. So some of the techniques I'm teaching people to reconnect, because the real connection center sits here. It sits in the heart. And for a long time, we've been taught that we need to have mind guiding us. But actually, the connection center, your energy center, sits in your heart. So that's really just about, even if you feel like you don't have a lot of time, it's sitting, standing, lying, walking, wherever you are, putting your attention back onto your heart center, breathing in and out slowly for 5 breaths through your heart center, and reconnecting back to yourself. And that for me is the 1 minute techniques that I'm teaching people, because that already just brings us back to connection. And if we're connected to ourselves, we can connect with others, we can connect with the planet. But when we're in a state of stress, anxiety, high levels of cortisol, it's almost like a T-Rex is chasing us. Our body doesn't know the difference. We don't know what's real. Our bodies don't know what is real or what is not. It's getting the signal from the brain. So we cannot be in a state of connection, of clarity, of intelligence when we're in those states. So that's my practice. 1 minute breathing. Whenever I feel the stress come my way, recenter myself. And then I do every single night focus on raising my energy and manifesting and creating Jedi magic. And the best part is the more you start to do it, the more awesomeness you start to attract, and it just becomes that cycle. But it is work. It is work. And it's a commitment to do, but it's one that I think really takes us into our power,
Oh, I love that. And as you were speaking about meditation, there are so many debates going around in the spiritual, social, community about the key, like, is meditation really the core principle that all human beings should be doing? There's a camp that says, yes, we should all be meditating. And then there's a camp that says, no, we don't need to meditate. And so when you look at meditation, I know you spoke about attracting miracles, but what are some of the things that you have noticed in your meditation practice that has really started to shift your own reality, like real tangible things that you are like, I would have never become this person, got into this place without doing meditation?
So I think the thing with meditation is us understanding that the physical body is just one entity. Then we've got this whole energy body that sits around us. And then we've got all these energy centers, right? And so for me, it's about the vibration we put into the world. We attract the same vibration that we're in. If we want love, we've got to be love. So meditation, I think often people feel, is about stilling the mind. We're humans. Humans have trillions of thoughts. In fact, you cannot not have a thought. That's not the way the human mind is designed. And meditation is actually not far more than about the mind and the thoughts. It's actually about our energy and getting that energy right, which again comes back to connecting to the love frequency, a much higher vibrational frequency, and making sure that actually all of our energy centers are aligned. So for me, when we get that right, and often we'll feel like, oh, we need to go into these like big transcendental meditations, or we've got to manifest, or we've got to put out the intention. First thing, and I've done this for years, where I've been like, whoa, how could I forget about that? Is just make sure your energy centers are sorted every week. Because if one of those are blocked, they manifest physically, they manifest energetically, they manifest emotionally. So when my energy centers, and then I work a lot on the energy field, so I would say a lot of my techniques is working with light. It's working with manifestation, but the trick with manifesting is not just about the intention, because the emotion is what holds the energy frequency. So it's really about kind of like having that intention, feeling that energy frequency and putting that out. And then always just making sure that the energy body is strong. And so, yeah, for me, a lot of my stuff, it manifests almost instantaneously, to be honest. It's about, putting the right stuff in my body, keeping my energy frequency high. And literally I'll be saying one thing, I want to be speaking on a speaker stage, and the next minute something will come in. So I'm not going to look for the stuff anymore at all. I'm not looking. It's coming to me. I'm attracting it. And that's right from business wins to just connecting with people, synchronicities, just literally starting to live in that flow and bringing all of these synchronicities into my life without actually trying, but I've put the intention out. The intention was put out, and sometimes intentions take a longer time. Other times they're instantaneous. But for me, it's about being in the vibrations that are the higher vibrations, the love, the peace, the gratitude. And then, of course, making sure that when we're meditating, we're not just meditating for ourselves, we're meditating for others. And the more we start to do that work, the more abundance we just start to attract back into our lives.
You said something at the end there that is actually so powerful. And it was about meditating for others and also then attracting more abundance into your life. And it leads me into the next question. So I know that a lot of people criticize manifestation law of attraction just based on the fact that they say that it disregards that there's all these sequence of events outside of us that we won't control, that we can't control, and there's this element that we can control. So how much, in your opinion, is it reliant on you as an individual having to really go out, hustle, train for whatever it is that you want, as opposed to also incorporating the meditation? Or do you believe that you can manifest even without doing any work in the world or any real tangible, steps towards getting there?
It is such an interesting thing, and it's something that I've been discussing. I've got a really good friend in Jamaica who's an actor and a singer and also very spiritual. And, he's about law of least effort. His vibration is high, he's there. And we've had so many discussions around how much do you have to try, how much don't you try? And so I've done both of them. So I've gone through phases where I've gone, I'm going to bring my energy. I mean, certainly when we're bringing our energy to things, we are creating momentum. And I've tried other ways where I've gone, I'm not going to bring my energy into pushing. I'm going to bring my energy intentional. I'm going to keep my vibration high. And I'm literally going to bring in that attraction energy, which is what I do when I meditate. When I'm looking at my intentions, I'm really looking at attracting versus looking for. And so, Candice, I would say, if I look at the work I'm doing now with the Wellbeing coaching and, putting out a lot of my content, all of that stuff, I have not gone looking for. Speaker engagements, coaching Olympic athletes, coaching Beyonce's team, coaching top corporates. I have not looked for any of that. And 2 years ago, I had that switch in my path where I've always had the strategy and the business side of stuff, but then I've had all this, I'm an energy healer and a meditation practitioner, and a heart math practitioner. I wasn't taking that to the world. And I started to shift my intention, make sure I'm in my vibration. And as a result, I am finding that when I stay in my vibration, I don't need to look. It just comes. It literally just starts coming out of nowhere, to the point where you're just like, how did that just happen? It's so awesome. It becomes surprising. And then I guess it just becomes like, oh, wow. So I certainly feel like I think there is a balance. I think when we start moving up to much higher frequencies, there's a lot less effort. We're less dense. There's less density when we're in high frequencies. Things happen much faster. So then we can start to manifest almost at the speed of thoughts. I think when we're in the lower vibrational emotions, that's when we often feel like we need to do more work. So yeah, for me, again, I don't talk from belief, I talk from experience. I experience the synchronicities every single day of my life without trying much other than working on my energy and my frequency and keeping it aligned to me. And that's a challenge. That can be a challenge, guys. We can often all get sucked into that kind of like, it's been like these 2 years and the vibration's been low, and then you're too high vibe and people are like, oh, she's too much. And I just made that switch a couple of months ago. I was like, I'm staying true to my vibe. And the minute I start doing that, literally everything starts coming to me. It finds my vibe. Isn't that attraction? Isn't that it? The frequency finds the vibration it is looking for, literally.
Oh, I really love that. And, it makes me think of trauma bonding. It's something that, a lot of therapists work on, especially I work on it because that's the field I'm in. And I think that, something my therapist said is something that's speaking to your point, which is when you are operating from a place of trauma, which I would regard in your language would be like lower frequency or like a vibration that's not matching the highest energy. That's all you see. It's not that there aren't good people around you, but the people you are drawing in and your energy frequencies pulling towards you are the people within that vibrational frequency. And what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is when you start vibrating and you start maintaining a certain level of energy, it's not that these people magically appear in your life. It's that they were always there, but your frequency could not see them. because you were missing each other in this world that you were living in. Am I correct?
Exactly that. It's almost like language, right? Having two different languages. I can be talking to you, but if I'm talking to you from a certain vibration, you might not even be getting it, right? And what's interesting for me is when I go back up to that vibration and I stick in my vibration, Candice, I will have people calling me and I'm like, hey, what's up? But they don't know why they're calling me, you know? Literally, I'm like, I haven't spoken to you in a while, but it's the right connection. And then we talk a little bit and it's like, oh, no way, I'm actually working on this thing. And that's exactly what I was looking for. I mean, I had that a couple of weeks back where I had 3 people, beautiful, humanitarian, really making impact in the world. Hadn't spoken to all 3 of those people in a year, call me in the same day. Literally because the night before I had focused on an intention around a really big impact project that I want to bring to the world around youth entrepreneurship. And next minute, these 3 people just called me out of the blue. You know, they didn't even know I don't normally talk on the phone, like I WhatsApp. So yeah, I think so often, like, you know, we think because we can't see things, they're not there. You know, it's like if you put shards on a table, you will see a magnetic field, an electromagnetic field. And I remember one of my spiritual coaches always saying to me, Lise, we so underestimate the invisible. And so I would say I navigate probably 80% of my life with the invisible, with my guides, with my intuition, with my frequency. And I do that in business, you know, I do that in business. And sometimes people will say, well, you know, why don't you feel this is right? And I say, because my intuition, my guidance tells me, and I 100% trust it. And years back, it was kind of like, oh, now I need to think about a rational excuse, right? Like I've got to tell people. And now I'm actually at the point where I say, because my intuition is not vibing it. It's not vibing with me. It's not vibing. I'm not going to do it. And I do feel like the more we trust that and we don't go into the situations that don't vibe with us, because it's easy to go into the situations that don't vibe, right? And then the ego gets in the way and we're listening to the ego and we're listening to the ego, but the other voice is going, no, 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 don't go there. And so I find like if you can almost challenge yourself for like a month to go, stick with my intuition, stick with the vibrations, and don't go where your vibe is telling you not to go, it just starts to exponentially kind of take you into the right direction.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And I think, you know, that's why I resonate with your teachings and who you are so much, is because I am such a highly intuitive person. I've always just trusted my intuition. I'm just like, before I used to be like, I don't know why I don't want to do it, but I just don't want to do it. Okay. Yeah. Like you said, it's easy for the logical and rational mind to be like, it makes no sense. This looks like a perfect opportunity. This should be everything you want. And you're like, I'm just going to say no and hope that I'm saying the right thing, because it's not going to be what's in alignment with me. But I think when we start using that kind of terminology and language, like intuition, trust the guidance, trust that inner voice, a question I hear asked a lot is, Lisa, Candice, how do I know what my intuition sounds like if I haven't been listening to it for the past 40, 50 years? And what does it sound like when it's fear? And what does it sound like when it's intuition?
So I think it's just the thing that nags you in your gut. So I certainly have always been guided, and, you know, people have different things. Some people have a feeling, other people have a voice. But the one thing we know is that your gut, which we know is, it has, you know, it's also got its own brain, right? And so does your heart. In fact, your heart has more neurons. Science is now showing us our hearts have more neurons than the brain. So how often do we feel like we're in a situation and our heart starts to feel blocked, or it feels uneasy, or the stomach feels uneasy? So I would say not all of us are maybe healers or channelers or see visions or see messages. But the first thing is, got to connect back to us. Because when we disconnected, then it's very hard to harness any kind of intuition. because we literally are not connected back to our vibration and our higher self. So again, it's about that connection, which you can just do. Focus on the heart center, breathe in and out, connect back. And then let your truth be your truth. I can't tell you your truth. I cannot tell you where your intuition is going to come from. Our truth is our truth. So often I'll coach friends or chat to friends, and a lot of them like go to a lot of card readers, and I think that's great. Everyone's got their own tools. But my thing, guys, is our truth sits with us. We don't need external to tell us the truth. The truth is here. The truth is in us. All we have to do is pause, take a bit of time, reflect, and connect back in. And I know that can feel scary. You can feel guilty around it. You can feel like, oh, I don't even know. How am I going to do this? How am I going to be with myself? But the more we start to do it, the more you become guided. And that's like the coolest experience, right, Candice? Like, I'm sure if you've done any retreats and you just feel like you're so connected to your truth, you don't need to be asking anyone for advice, right? You know your truth. It's there. It's guiding you. You're centered. So it's about centering. Oh. And then everyone will have their own. I think actually when we're talking about, is it the ego voice? Is it the fear voice? We're probably getting all of that stuff because, again, we're just not actually connected and centered. Because when you're really connected and centered, there aren't these multiple voices. It's just like, this is my quest, right? It's like, I mean, how many times I've had that experience so many times where I'm literally guided. I'm just guided. I just go with the flow and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I can feel there's a magnetic pull and I'm just going to like go with it, you know?
And I love what you're saying there. And, for me, I think what I've come to learn about my intuitive voice, and like you said, for everyone, it's different, is intuition is not frantic. It's not overly energized. It's simply peaceful. Like it comes to you, it tells you, and it's not in this heightened state of like, it's just like, it's clear. And like you said, the more you connect to yourself, the better it is. And I think with people who consult with readers, or even because for me, I think teachers like yourself, Deepak Chopra, all these people are messengers, whether you want to call them prophets, whether you want to call them, spiritualists, whatever it is. And I think when we know it's true for us, and when we know it's our intuitive voice that they're vocalizing, is because you'll feel that. You're not going to resonate with every speaker. But there's some speakers where you're like, it feels like Lisa's talking to me. There's going to be people in the audience listening to this interview or watching, and they're going to say, Lisa's talking to me. And there's going to be some people who are like, I'm not really connecting here. And that's not because of you as a teacher. It's simply because your paths aren't aligned at this moment. So I think, whenever we consult, whenever we ask for advice, what we're really looking for is validation for what we're already feeling. Right? Our own truth. Lisa, just tell me, am I making the right decision? And we want you to tell us because it's like, it feels wrong. And I actually want you to tell me it's wrong. No, but at least you said something. And I think a lot of people would be curious about it. It's heart maths. What exactly is that, and how do you teach it?
So I'm super excited about heart math, Candice, because I mean, I've done a lot of, like I say, I go to India, I've done a lot of deep transcendental meditation work and, just lots of work over many, many years. And sometimes a lot of it can feel really quite out there, it's breath work, or you're moving into different dimensions, or it's sounding very spiritual. And so when I had a hectic viral attack 2 years ago, massive neurological impact, inflammation to the brain, my eyes were not moving right to left, optic nerve damage. Obviously, I had to slow right down, which was really interesting for a strategist, right, that gets paid to think for a living. So like my brain was malfunctioned, suicidal thoughts, paranoia. I mean, I didn't know who my family was. It was a proper neural malfunction. And I actually, through that process, connected with Yuktesh, who is my monk friend in India, and we just used energy and intention to start my healing process, which was miraculous, Candice. that was like, I got on the line with Yuktesh, he looked at me, he went, oh, there's two Lisas. There's the old Lisa and the new Lisa. Because he was just like, and literally using light energy and intention started to reset me back. And so while I was going through that recovery process, the brain was offline. I couldn't use my eyes. I couldn't look at any screens. I was like using adult coloring in books. I started the heart math course. And so heart math, and it was such an amazing time because now I couldn't use my thoughts to control my body. And so I've done a lot of teachings where it's like use your thoughts, your intentions to control your body. You can heal your body with your thoughts. But when your mind's not working, like, how do you do that? And so I started to understand the heart-centered work. So heart math is really just about heart-mind coherence and understanding that when we're in emotions like fear, frustration, judgment, criticism, our heart rate variability is like this. It's like jagged peaks on a mountain, when it should be like orderly waves in an ocean. But when we're in emotions of gratitude, appreciation, love, care, and we're focusing on our heart center, we can bring our heart rate back into coherence. And so when our heart rate is in coherence, our brain waves are coherent, our blood pulses are coherent, our breathing is coherent, the entire system is coherent. So I'd gone through that cardiac arrest, which is massive heart rate variability, incoherence, and the brain, the whole system was out. And so I just started studying this and listening to it as audio because I couldn't have the screen. And this is now the stuff I'm teaching. And it is a game changer. And the reason I love it so much is it is simple scientific language. The stats around the fact that you can just stop and breathe in and out for 5 minutes and start to bring your heart back into coherence, and we're mapping that stuff. So we can start to see that all of this starts going like this, and it starts going like this over the long term. And the more we have our heart rates going like this over the long term, anything that comes in our way, we bounce back like this. But if we're already all incoherent, any stress just sets us, it becomes even more exponential, right? But if we're already like this, one little stress, we can actually bounce back off. And so that is all it is. It's about heart-mind variability, but it's not starting from here. It's understanding that this is an electromagnetic center and it's activated differently with different emotions. And our emotions and our states, we get to actually choose. And I know sometimes that can sound far, right? When you're really feeling like in frustration or fear, it's like, you're telling me that I can choose? We actually can. And so we run through some really cool processes that also just help people switch from this emotion into that emotion. And by the way, when we're in these coherent emotions, what we start to see on maps is a shrinked energy body, when we like that, into a massively expanded one. And it just continues to expand. So we're no longer feeling depleted, we're not drained, we've got more energy, we're functioning at 50, 100% better, our brain function is now turned on, we literally are at our optimal. And for me, that's my quest, Cans. You know, I'm really just here to help empower humanity, and I just want to see humans thrive and be at their full potential. And this is the secret. It's here, it's focusing here. And that takes us into our design, the way we were designed to be, you know, the way we were designed to be. We weren't designed to be in this fear, frustration, criticism with our heart rates going like, that's not our design. And often it can feel weird. I can tell you, like, often people will look at me and they're like, she's way too calm. Because like also, right, in a chaotic world, if you're the calm and happy one, then you seem like the weird one. Well, actually, like, this is actually the way we were designed to be. And the beauty about that as well, by the way, is like when you create that coherent field, we do know that the heart radiates an electromagnetic field around us. So you actually start to impact your environment around you. You start to change the negativity and chaos into this more calm vibe. And then, you know, things just start to 10x. More success, more energy. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
I love that, Lise. I love it. I love it. And it's what you said there reminds me of a quote. A woman was in hospital and she didn't have any functions. And all she could do was really observe the people who'd come visit her all the time. And the one observation she made when she came out and she was healed again was that she couldn't hear, she couldn't really see, but she knew people's energies. And she said the biggest lesson she took away is that we are in charge of the energy we bring into a space. So if you come in with chaotic energy, that's what she would feel. She'd feel this internal chaos. If you came in with peaceful energy, she felt the peace. And she said she has made it a concerted and conscious effort to walk into every room with peace and love, because that's what she starts emanating. And I think as you're explaining, I was like, that is so profound and so on point. Lise, I've got two final questions, but before I do, I know you've got a beautiful 1-minute meditation, and I wanted to know, is it possible to do it with our audience today, and just give them a little taster of what it is that you teach?
Yeah, totally we can. Are we ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
So
Are you
that's
guys
the
ready?
good thing.
We ready?
So the good thing with this one, right, is like I said, you don't need to feel like you need to set yourself up and take 2 hours to get in the Zen zone. So you can do this really with your eyes open or your eyes closed. And we're going to start by just focusing on your heart center. And as you focus on your heart center, start to breathe in and out through your heart center. Just like you would be breathing in and out through your nose, breathe in and out through your heart center. And you can slow down your breath, breathing in for 5 and out for 5 through your heart center. Now start to think of someone you love or something you love or a place you love. And breathe that feeling in through your heart center. As you breathe that feeling in, start to feel it expand throughout your whole body. You can slowly start coming back to your surroundings, wherever you are. Now, Kenz, you're looking like a calm Jedi.
That's because I am a calm Jedi. I love that meditation, and you and I are friends. So I've done this before, and every single time I do it, and obviously now I do it a bit more consciously and continuously. It's very interesting to me that it's almost like throughout the day, I don't hear my heart. And whenever I do that meditation, I hear my heartbeat. It's almost like I can hear what it needs and how fast it's racing. So it's such a beautiful but simple meditation to do. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you. I love doing it. And it's so fascinating for me because even when I do that and I'm coaching a group of people, I literally feel the entire energy of my team in this office shift. The whole energy just calms down and it's in this cool vibe. So yeah, guys, I mean, that you literally can do the minute you feel any stress. If you get a stressful message or your boss breathing down your neck, take 5, breathe in and out through the heart, and you can start to do that every single day. And that really will help get you into the flow.
Oh, Lise, thank you. And to anyone listening out there, feel free to rewind this when you need to, bookmark it, comment with a timestamp as to where the meditation is, so you can always revisit it when you need it. Lise, on to our final 2 questions.
Yes.
I think the interview has answered it, but I want to hear it again from you. What is real success to you?
What is real success? I think that real success is around more heart-led leadership. So I'm sure you've seen that kind of meme that goes around that says the world doesn't need more successful people, it needs more healers, it needs more listeners. I think that's real success. I think that success in how we framed it is certainly shifting. I don't believe that leadership of the future needs to know numbers, needs to know logic. I think that leadership and success of the future is about somebody that can listen, that is heart-centered, that is compassionate, that can create not only for themselves, but for the world. And I think that for me is real success. You know, often we think that money is everything. I believe actually our biggest commodity, again, and I've spoken a lot about it today, is actually energy. If we don't have energy and we don't have vibration to put into the world, we can't create anything. So I would say real success is us now really shifting from the space of me thinking to we thinking and understanding that we are one collective. My success impacts you and your success impacts me. And that's really what I live for. That I would say is my definition of success. Wow. Making impacts.
That might be one of the most beautiful answers to that question I've heard. And finally, what is something about Lise Alton Cohen that we will not find on Google?
That you would not find on Google. Oh, there's a lot about me that you would not find on Google.
We've had some interesting answers on this show, so I'm so curious to know.
I have done a lot of stuff. I would say, yeah, I mean, always happy to teach you a couple of pole dancing moves if you're down for that. I did once do a sex toy ripping job, which was really fun, and got pulled over by the police, and they opened my boot and it was filled with sex toys. You probably won't find that on Google. Yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. Eh?
I mean, thank you so much for sharing. Oh, I love this part of the interview because we always get the best answers. Now, our audience has had a former stripper, we've had a pole dancing lesson offer, we've had someone arrested. So you know what? This is the show that keeps on giving. So Lise, thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor to speak to you.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, and sending you all much, much love. Thank you so much, Candice.
Thanks, Lise. I want to hear what you learned from Lisa Alton. There were so many gems in this conversation, and I absolutely love hearing from all of you. I have to give a special shout out to Gail Ham, who is always commenting and writing really thoughtful posts. Keep commenting, and I might shout you out next. Thank you. And as always, it has been an honor to serve you, and I look forward to doing it again next week.